Okay, so we had some issues in class the other day talking about cross country, so I'm just going to record these separately. You might not realize, but cross country is a very popular sport. It's very dramatic. It's a different challenge for most track and field athletes or enthusiasts because rather than running on the oval, you are running over a course that may include hills, may include water breaks, may include some tight turns, oftentimes run on a golf course. Because of that, because of its unique nature, cross country is very, very popular. Again, this presentation is just a snapshot from Joe Gisandi's book, Field Guide to Covering Sports. But some of the key things to keep in mind as you prepare, you need to learn the basics. For high school, the 5K or 3.1 miles is the longest form, is the typical race. Once you get into college, it becomes 8K for the men, 5K for the women, and then those distances go up for those who make it to nationals to the 10K and the 6K. You're going to have 7 runners competing for a team. 5 will score, and the lower the score, the better, because first place gets you 1 point, second place gets you 2, and so forth. So a perfect score in cross country is 15 points. That means your 5 runners finished 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You need to learn to calculate pace and determine splits, because this can tell you if a runner is maintaining a pace, if they're slowing down, if they speed up. Maybe they run a 4-minute first mile, but then their second mile is 5 minutes, and their third mile is 5:30. That means they came out too fast, probably, and they're dying as they get down the line. So learn how to calculate the pace and determine their splits for each mile. Do also keep in mind that individuals can advance to state or nationals even when their team doesn't. So, for example, at a regional meet in college, I believe it's 4 teams advance to the national meet. That would be something you'd want to check. But then the 10 next individuals who are not on those teams, they also can advance. So if you finish 5th in a race, in a regional race, but your team does not advance, you still get to go to nationals as an individual. You also want to think about training methods and strategies that are run in cross country. Does a team do a lot of interval work, which is a training method designed to build speed? Do they do a lot of pack running, which is where the team runs together to encourage one another, but then also to be a hindrance to other teams? So these are things that you're going to want to keep in mind because they're going to help you, again, to learn the basics. Okay, so now that you know the basics, now you need to be prepared and get there ready to cover the event. First of all, you need to arrive early and scout the course. You need to know where might be the difficult parts of the course, where are going to be the best places for you to shoot photos or videos, where might be a place that you'll see a pack break away. And you can't find that out if you get there right at race time, because as the race is going on, they're not going to want you running all across the course trying to find a good spot. So do that early. This also helps you check the terrain and where are the highs and where are the lows, where are the hills, where may be the wet spots or the slick spots after a rain, those types of things. Research the best time to the conference or region. In cross country, we don't actually have records because every course is different. You might have course records, but you're not going to have a cross-country record. But you still want to know what are the best times in the conference or region, because if you have one athlete who consistently is recording the best times, it doesn't really matter what the course is. They're still going to be one of the better runners. You need to keep that in mind. Speak with your key runners and coaches. Try and get some ideas. Speak to them off the record, and that means you're not going to quote them, anonymous or otherwise. You're just trying to get some background information that can help you prepare for your story. Okay? Determine what's at stake. Do the runners compete, and then if they are successful, they move on to the next round? Is this just a regular season meet where they're doing some training that they're really not even after winning this meet because it really doesn't matter to the overall standings? Find out what's at stake. Know who their top runners are and what their stats are, what their typical splits are. Are they typically a fast starter and they slow down, or are they a late sprinter? And you find that out by looking at their splits from race to race. You'll need to obviously talk to the coach about that. But don't expect coaches to reveal their strategies because they are still going to be a little hesitant to share too much. They aren't going to want to run the risk of any leaks. Now, as you're watching the race, you need to calculate the elapsed time between the top runners. Are they separating widely from the pack and you have the top 3 or 4 runners that are running together in a separate pack? Is there one runner who has a 10-second lead on everybody else and then the next group is all packed together? This is going to help you determine, does one person dominate? Does one team dominate? Are they trying to run together? Is there a lot of changes in the front line? That'll help you know how you want to describe this race. You do need to consider the weather, and in cross country, the cooler the better. I know that sounds counterintuitive because they wear the short shorts and they wear the tank tops, But because they're in constant motion and they are running hard for that whole 5K, 8K, 6K, whatever race they're running, they burn out pretty quickly if the weather is too hot. I've seen cross-country races canceled because it's too hot. So consider that. Also consider if it's rained. If the course is going to be wet or muddy, that can really impact time, and you're going to be able to tell who can handle and manage that better. Do watch for pack running like I talked about. Track the strategy of the teams by observing how they're running. Do you have one guy from a team that probably isn't one of their best runners, but he's going out front like the rabbit, trying to quicken the pace and wear down some of the top runners, knowing that his teammate can maintain that pace? So look for those types of things. Also, track the strategy by recording the splits. Does a team come out really fast, then they try and maintain the second lap, and then they try and sprint through at the very end? Do they try and start slow and stay back and wait for the rabbit to run down the other runners and get them tired, and then they're going to break late? So you look for those types of things. And then also watch and look for the coach. Is that coach out on the course cheering on her runners? Is she giving them splits? Is she letting them know where other competitors are? Does she seem happy with the way her runners are running? Those are types of things you can observe by watching the coach. And then after the race, talk to as many of the coaches and runners as possible. You want to find out what they're thinking, how they feel the race went, and you can get an overall feel from them for that. This will also let you get a clearer picture of the race and if they thought it was run according to their strategy. Do choose questions that are going to encourage the runners to talk, so not a lot of yes-no answers. You want some open-ended questions to get them to speak about the event. And also ask those coaches about their pre-race workouts and their race strategies. Did they work on their speed in the practices leading up to this race? Did they have a game plan that was different than what they have done before? So that way you kind of get an idea of did the strategy work and what they're going to do to improve for their next race. And then finally, ask anybody who set a personal best time. Again, there aren't records per se, but individuals over the same time, over the same distance, they will have personal best times, and you want to find out, are they maintaining a certain pace? Are they improving race to race? Did they fall back? So those are the kinds of questions you can ask, and then that leads you into, okay, well, what did you do to get that best time? So that can lead to really good stories. Okay, so now you've learned the basics, you've watched the race, you've asked your questions. Now, obviously, it's time to write your story. You do need to include the name of the event, the distance, and the location in the first couple of paragraphs. We obviously want to know the where and how far they were running. Then include a paragraph that talks about who won in terms of teams along with their score and the individual winners with their times. As far as times go, you spell out the first time. On first reference, you'll spell it out, and then after that, you just go to numeric time like we're used to seeing. Do focus on the top runners from your area, obviously. And so in track and field, you're going to spell out their names, but again to stress, spell out those times on the first reference. If it's a postseason race, talk about where they're going from here, if they advance to the next round, if they're maybe going to run in an open, things like that. And then cite course records. If there aren't cross-country records, but there are course records, so you can talk about if those were set. Describe top performances of the top leaders. Did they lead from start to finish? Did they have a great sprint at the end? Did they utilize their teammates? And those are good questions to ask those athletes. And then finally, as we talked about, address the weather conditions. Did they play a factor? Okay, so again, there's a snapshot on covering cross country. Do read through this in your Jasonde book, take your assessment, and get ready to be a great cross country rider.